Dubey sir, you can unmute and start video.
Okay. So, good morning, friends. It's a pleasure to be back. Unfortunately, we have become short of speakers, so I don't have a regular speaker this morning. And my request to all of you would be that if you know somebody who is ready to talk to us about the Shruti's teachings or nature or on Buddhist philosophy or something related to what Krishna has talked about, please do send their names and email addresses so that we can get in touch with them. Right now, our position is that the whole of May, we have people who will be speaking to us, but we have none for June, and we have some people for July. So please help us locate people who can speak before this group. And today we are going to watch a short video of Krishna, and then we can have a dialogue around that video. So just give me a minute and then we can share the screen.
Without the operation of desire and will, how does one move in the direction of self-knowledge? Is not the very urgency of change a part of the movement of desire? If so, what is the nature of the first step? I hope you don't mind if I read it twice. Without the operation of desire and will, how does one move in the direction of self-knowledge? Is not the very urgency of change a part of the movement of desire? If so, what is the nature of the first step? That is the question that is asked. Is desire and will necessary or required to understand the depth of self-knowledge? Is not the desire itself a movement towards self-knowing? That is the question. First of all, to understand this question, not only superficial, but also the depth, we must understand the nature of desire and will, and the structure and the nature of self-knowledge. You understand? First, desire, will, and what does it mean if there is no desire? The movement of self-knowledge. If one has not the urge, which is part of desire and will, how can this flowering take place in knowing oneself? Right? That's the question. As we went into the question the other day, what is desire? And what is the relationship of desire to will? Desire is, I'm going to think carefully, we have probably heard it 10 times, but Please don't get bored with it, but look at it. How does desire come into being? One can see actually perceptions, visual seeing, contact, touching, sensation. Right? Then thought comes, creates an image out of that sensation, and desire is born. Right? I'm not an oracle. That fire has gone long ago. But you can see this for yourself. You can see for yourself when you watch through a window, a dress or a shirt, especially a blue shirt, and the seeing, entering into the shop, touching it, the material, then the sensation, then thought comes along and says, how nice it would be if I had that shirt or that dress, creates the image. Right? You having a blue shirt and putting it on, or the dress, and at that moment, desire arises. Is this somewhat clear? No, please clear to yourself, not understanding the explanation. This is the movement of perception, contact, sensation. That's natural. Hello. Then thought creates the image, you sitting in the car and driving. When thought takes possession of sensation, creates the image, then desire is born. Right? And will is the summation of desire. The strengthening of desire, the stability of desire, the urge to achieve, the urge to express one's desire and acquire, which is the operation of desire, but strengthened as well. Right? So desire and will go together. Right? Yeah. And the question says, if there is no desire of will, why should one seek self-knowledge? What is self-knowledge? Let's examine first. What is self-knowledge? That is, the ancient Greeks and the ancient Hindus talked about knowing yourself. It's as old as the hills. That Socrates and others in Greece and in India talked about knowing yourself. What does it mean to know yourself? Can you ever know yourself? And please, I'm exploring together. You are doing this together. What is the self? And you must know about it. Understand my question? What is the self that apparently it is necessary to know? Now, what do we mean by the word know? Sorry to be so careful about this. Otherwise, we will be misleading each other if we do not understand the words. What do we mean by know? I know Shah, because I've been there for 22 years. I know you, because I've seen you here for 20 years.
I can't do that. I can't do that. तो बोलते 1 बजे आएगा.
There's a while, but you're there.
देखो.
And I'm here. And when we say I know, we mean by that not only recognition, but also the remembrance of the face, the name. Which means recognition, remembrance, and association. Another association, remembrance, which is I met you yesterday, I recognize you today. That is the memory operator. So when I say I know, it is the past expressing itself in the present. What you're following this? Does it interest you? So the past is the movement of knowledge. I studied with college, one goes to school, college, university, a great deal of information. Then I say I'm a chemist or a physicist, and so on and so on. So we say, when we say one must know oneself, do you come to that knowledge about the self afresh, or do you approach it already having knowledge of it? You see the difference? You understand my question? And I'm making a difference? No. That is, I want to know myself. Do I approach myself through the knowledge of a power, which is, I've studied psychology, I've been to psychotherapists, and I've read a great deal, and I approach the understanding of the self through the knowledge of the power. Or do I come to without all the previous accumulation knowledge about oneself, right? You understand the question? We've explained what is desire, what is will, and saying, and when we say I must know about myself, I am already acquainted with myself. And so this acquaintance, this knowledge dictates how I have observed myself. It's very important to want to go in carefully. So having previous knowledge about myself, I use that knowledge to understand myself, which becomes silly, right? It's absurd, which is I've understood about myself from the knowledge of others. Freud, Jung, or the rest of the modern psychologists and so on. So can I, please listen, can I put aside all that knowledge? Because I am looking at myself through other people's eyes. Therefore, can I put all that aside and look at myself afresh, anew? You understand? Now, the question I ask, is desire really necessary in observing myself? Right? Now, see what happened. I have applied knowledge about myself to others, and the actual fact what I am. You see the difference? The knowledge I've acquired through study about myself and the fact of myself, what it actually is. Right? So there is a contradiction between what is and what I have acquired. This contradiction, to overcome this contradiction, you exercise will. Got it. You understood this? No. You've understood that? I've studied, one has studied, I've not studied any of these things. One has studied, let us say, psychology. Relatives.
उसका तार बदलना पड़ेगा, केबल बदलना पड़ेगा, हो जाएगा।
Psychotherapist. And went to him, talked with him, discussed, and he gives me certain knowledge about myself, and I acquire that knowledge, take it forward, and discover that knowledge is different from me. And then begins the conflict to adjust what is to what I have been told. Then the conflict, in that conflict, to suppress it, to overcome it, to accept it, I must, the desire and will comes into being. Then comes. Is this clear? So that is the question. Now we are saying, is will and desire necessary at all? It only comes into being when I have to adjust myself to a pattern of the Guru of what's happening. And then the struggle, the conflict, to overcome, to control, all that. Right? Or I'm a Sikh. You understand? I'm a Sikh. which is I'm questioning. Therefore, in my questioning, I reject all that. I reject completely what others have told me about myself. Can you do your doing? You do. Because you won't do it because it is much safer to accept the thought. When you are secure, whereas if you reject completely all that authority, everything, you don't become a follower, you don't become a disciple. You are absolutely out of that field altogether. Then, how do you observe the self? Yes. The movement of the self. The self is not static. It is moving, living, acting. Now, how do you observe something that's tremendously moving, acting, urges, desires, ambitions, greed, romanticism, all that? How do you observe? You follow the, which means, can I observe this movement of the self, the me, the desires, the fears, all that? Can I observe it without any knowledge apart from others, or the previous knowledge which I have had in examining myself? So that complete. You understand what I'm saying? And should. One of the activities of the self is greed, right? Or comparison, comparing myself with another. That is the activity of the self. Now, when I use the word greed, I've already associated that reaction or that reflex with a memory which I've had of that reaction previously. Understand what I'm saying? I'm greed. I use the word greed to identify that sensation. The identification of that is, I've already known it. So I use that word to identify. Right? So can I look at that reaction without the word, and therefore without the previous acquaintance with it? You're following this? Am I making this clear? Huh? Can I look at that reaction without a single movement of recognition? The moment that recognition takes place, I've already strengthened that reaction because I recognize it and take it back into my memory. And can I observe myself without any direction, without any comparison, which is I've had this before, just to observe without direction and therefore without motive. That is learning about yourself afresh each time. not that you have accumulated knowledge about yourself and you know about yourself. If you go into it very, very seriously, you will find that it is not little by little, first step, second step, third step, first initiation, second initiation. But to see the truth of instant, to see the truth that the moment recognition takes place, you are not knowing yourself at all. That requires a great deal of attention. Most of us are so slack, so lazy. We've got all kinds of ideas that we must be this, we must be that, we must not be this. So we come to it with tremendous burden. And so we never know ourselves. That is, to put it differently, as we said the other day, we are the rest of mankind. For mankind, whether they live in Asia, here, in America, suffer. Go through a great deal of anxiety and fatigue, suffering. So we go through it, each one of us. So we are simply the common human kind. Psychologically, you may be tall, you may be short, but psychologically, we are like the rest of humanity. So we are humanity. And what is there to know about myself? Listen. I'm all that. That's a fact. When the problem arises, can that whole center of my consciousness be wiped away? That is the learning about oneself, which is not yourself, but the consciousness of mankind. See, we are so trained, we are so conditioned to an individuality. Psychologically different from another, which is not a fact. So, we are so trained, conditioned, we accept. And so when we say, I must know myself, we are saying, I must know my little self. And when you investigate that little self, there is nothing. But when you see the actual truth of real mankind, whereas the rest of humanity and to inquire into this enormous, complex human mind is to read the story of yourself. You are history. You understand? It is story. And there, if you know how to read the book, it's finished.
जैन साहब वीडियो खत्म होते ही मुझे एक गेस्ट है, 10 मिनट में फ्री हो जाऊंगा, तो आप जरा क्वेश्चन आंसर हैंडल कर लीजिएगा.
Come to the book. No, so don't say I know nothing. Let's read the book. Then you learn fast, not accumulate knowledge. That's you understand. So begin to find out the nature of yourself, which is mind, and the nature of your this consciousness, which is the consciousness of all human beings, and inquire into that. So we are saying that the problem, question, the answer to the question is in the question itself. You see that?
That's how you handle the question answer. I'll be back in 10 minutes. I have a guest I'll dispose of.
Thank you. Dinesh Waghmare, please unmute and say. Dinesh, please unmute and say. Modak, my voice is clear?
Yes, now I am able to unmute myself.
Okay. Okay.
Are you able to listen to me clearly?
Yeah, clearly.
Okay. So in today's topic, it is a very interesting discussion. Let us see first what JK has to say. In a nutshell, I will just concisely or precisely would say what he wants to say. He says, desire is born out of thought. Desire is born out of thought. Will is summation, strengthening, and urge to achieve. Will is summation, strengthening, and urge to achieve. To fulfill the desire and to bridge the gap between what is and what should be, we use will. That's what he says. And he says further, both goes together. Desire and will goes together. Then he says, what is the difference between self-knowledge and self-knowing? Self-knowledge is observing self-knowing is observing your reaction in a moment, whereas self-knowledge is your past accumulation. Whatever your past accumulation is there, that is self-knowledge. Now, the question is, for self-knowing, can you keep aside all knowledge and recognition without direction, without moment? I will just repeat for the sake of clarity once again. For self-knowing, can you keep aside all your knowledge and recognition without any direction, without any movement, and observe your reactions in the moment? Further, he then said, can the content of past be wiped out? Here he is talking of psychological content and garbage, past garbage. Then he said, read the story of your book of yourself, but not by knowledge. Now here my questions are, so this is what in a nutshell what he says. Now my questions are, for pondering. Is really desire born out of thought? If it is so, then just by seeing itself, it should go. But it never goes just by seeing or observing choicelessly. So it is a energy surge, and thought is just expressing it. So whether it is a basically energy surge and thought is just expressing it, this is my question. Will to me is intellect coming into the picture. So desire is energy surge or your inner impulse, and will is intellect coming into picture to see how it can be fulfilled. Now, in a way, he says both are not necessary. Desire and will are not necessary for self-knowing. But here my question is, if there is no desire, there is no will, why at the first place one will go for the self-knowing? Why one will go for the self-knowing? There are two other words also which resemble to this. Those two words are urge and need. In this discussion also he has used the word urge. Urge is a strong desire or impulse. That is what the dictionary says. So again, here also urge is impulse. And need is you require something because it is essential or very important rather than just desirable. So if any of the four is not there, why one should go for the self-knowing? That is my question. Now let us consider self-knowledge and self-knowing. Self-knowledge is okay because we all do a lot of analysis and we understand ourselves by what degrees we are having or what we can do and what we cannot do and all the things, all the knowledge we know. He says for self-knowing, observing the reactions, which is basically, according to me, is the energy impulse or surge, how much it is possible to see it without thought or past reference. My question is, how it is possible to see it without thought or past reference? It is debatable. This is debatable. As reactions comes only by taking past reference. Suppose you hurt me. Since I know the hurt, what is hurt, my reactions of what immediately comes out. So thought is already working in the background. Yes, there is, according to me, there is a possibility of observing it despite of thought. What he is saying, you see it without recognition. That is possible despite of thought. Means you are having the thought also and having awareness about your past references, and you discard those past references and you can observe the thought. So right now I want to submit this much only. Then we will see further. What to
Shankar, please. Shankar, please unmute. Shankar, please unmute.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. In response to Mr. Dinesh Waghmare's question, how can I recognize, how can I stop recognizing hatred or reactions from me when I already know it is hate? If I understand properly his question. See, it is not possible to perceive without recognition. It is possible only when you understand that this hate is the meaning which I gave to that particular word. Suppose I told him, you are the ugliest Indian. Then immediately a reaction comes inside me. Why it has come? Because I gave meaning to those words and I believed those words, that I really believed those words, that there's something called ugliness, ugly Indian. And I also believe that there is something called ugliness. And I also believe that I exist. to receive that comment. So first of all, if you still in the belief system of all these meanings and words and concepts and all that, that concept called hate, jealous, if you believe that they all exist, then definitely you cannot perceive without recognition. You obviously perceive with recognition only. Only after understanding that all these things are false, all these things are created by human being at some point of time. There's words and meanings and Indian, American, human being, animal. Once you understand that all these don't exist in reality, they are only created by human being, then only there is possibility of perceiving without recognition. This is in a simple way. I don't want to take much time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I comment on this?
Yeah, please go ahead.
You are absolutely right, sir. I was also wanted to say the same thing. You rightly said, once you understand it, then only it is possible. But understanding to what level? Because these reactions come from your subconscious mind without any time, without taking any time. You tell me you are a fool and the reaction is already there. So the understanding should go inside, deep inside, so that there should be no reaction. So as far as my working goes and my individuality goes, I have worked on it, and I have seen that it takes time. Without taking time, it is not happening. So that is maybe because of my individuality. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Dakshin Murthy, sir, please unmute and say.
Jan Sahab, I have a slightly different take, so let me take a few minutes and then we'll request Dakshina Murthy ji. I think it's, what do you mean by understanding, Dinesh ji? By understanding what? Understanding anger? How do you understand anger? Please unmute yourself. And let me finish before you just respond to it. I think that registration, the image we have, somebody says something, it is unpalatable because I have an image. And first of all, those words get registered in my brain. And then that registration brings with the image I have about myself. And then there is flow of emotions. I get angry or I get upset. All that, those things happen. So by understanding what? Verbally or intellectually? What do you mean by understanding? But I think even without understanding what it is, there are reactions, there are responses from the memory, which is in the form of anger or hate or hurt or whatever. But if we can be quiet, create that space between the flow of emotions and registration. If that space is created, then that time becomes a little larger. Then we are able to listen to what the other person has said. And in that listening, perhaps there is a way out, there is a freedom. This is what I wanted to say.
Can I respond to it?
Yeah, you can respond. Yeah, sure.
Sir, you have bilkul right. You have said rightly, and you have very well explained. But it is what you have explained is the mechanics of the things which are happening, right?
Yes.
What I wanted to say, what is basically anger? It is an energy surge or it is energy impulse. And are you able to tackle that energy impulse? Right now, I am not angry. So I am having a specific energy level, which is keeping me in a full balance. Now, when I become angry, leave aside all the words and leave aside all the past things, that particular energy which is created in me, it should be tackled by the energy of understanding. If that understanding has gone deep inside me, say subconscious level or up to unconscious level, then that reaction will not come at all. That is what he is saying, negation. But if that reaction is coming, then I should be able to immediately be aware of it, and my energy of understanding should tackle it. That is what I wanted to say.
Yes, Dakshina Murthy ji, please unmute yourself.
Uh, good morning to all of you. This is a nice dialogue, and I compliment the organizers for selecting this. Krishnaji has gone at a great depth into this question of desire and will. In fact, the questioner also needs to be complimented because of his question. Such a great message has come from Krishnaji for all of us. First of all, there was just now a discussion on understanding. In the parlance of Krishnaji, understanding means the elimination of that particular psychological disorder, like anger. Anger is a psychological disorder in the consciousness of all human beings. And if you say you understand the anger, it means you should never become angry again. What is happening is we are understanding anger only at the intellectual level, but we are not able to understand it at depth. So there is, see, if you go on accumulating knowledge about anger, actually you are strengthening your anger. You are not eliminating your anger. So what is required for that understanding is a pure observation as and when anger arises. Can you stay with it? Can you stay with it and observe it without interfering with it? That is an observation without the observer. Only in that state, that is a state of attention. Only in that state, there is a possibility of eliminating any of the psychological disorders that we all human beings have. That anyway, that we already discussed. Now coming to the main thing, what Krishnaji is telling is, if you approach self-knowledge with desire and will, you will never get it. Because desire, if you approach that self-knowledge with a knowledge acquired by you, by some authority, by a psychoanalyst or a psychologist given to you, or your own knowledge of self by reading your scriptures and or maybe taking some advice from some guru, with all these things you approach, there is a disconnect. What you are and what somebody else telling what you are, there's a difference, there's a conflict. So in a situation like that, desire and knowledge will be required. Otherwise, if you approach, in fact, he says he discovered it while talking to the participants there. That is really wonderful. And also some of the main points, I will not touch about everything else. He is telling we are actually the rest of mankind. All human beings are one. Know me without you. If I know you, I know myself. That is what he is telling. And he is talking with great love and affection to all the participants, which is very clear. And we are actually missing the bus because about, again, the desire also, there's a discussion, desire was talked number of times. For example, when a sensation is arising and desire is trying to possess that sensation, that means the desire is entering into that field. Can you observe the desire, that thought, when the thought is entering that field? So you have a sensation that is understandable, it's natural. If it stops there, there's no problem. Sensations will die on their own without any interference. But when the sensation is there of seeing a shirt in the showroom or whatever, and desire, the thought entering to that situation and creating an image of you wearing the shirt and looking at yourself and things like that, saying, oh, the shirt is looking nice, I should like to have it and all. Then only the desire is born. So we have to be very careful whenever the sensations are arising and whenever thought is trying to attach with that sensation and creating the desire. That is a very important thing we have to do in our day-to-day life. And as long as we do not do it, we will not be able to proceed further. That's all from my side right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Durga ji, please unmute yourself. Yes, we can hear you, but your audio is a little feeble. Will you increase it a little bit? Yeah. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Unmute yourself. Unmute. It's not very good. I don't know about others. Can you hear her? No, I think others are also having problems.
No, sir. We are not able to hear.
Okay. Some problem audio, Durga ji. Maybe you can log out and then log in again. That could help. We can't hear you at all. We'll go to Dinesh ji and then come back to you. Dinesh ji, unmute yourself.
Sir, what I wanted to say, as Dubey ji correctly pointed out the cause and effect. So, suppose I am crossing a traffic corner with a green light and somebody comes in red light in front of me. So, of course, proportional reaction will be there of anger. So, what I mean to say is anger, fear, even greed to some extent, these are the basic features in humanity or mankind. So they will never go. Only the thing is how much is your maturity level, how much is your state of being gone to a level, how much your mind has reached to a calm and quiet and alert state. So that will decide whether there is any negation possible or not. Negation means the anger doesn't arise itself. To me, negation means anger doesn't arise. So this is very important. They will never go anywhere. This one participant said that no anger should be there. So this is not possible. You cannot eradicate anger or fear from your psyche totally. That's a basic feature in humanity. That's what I wanted to say.
Sir, if you have decided already that anger cannot go or greed cannot go, then naturally you will never make an effort to see that it goes. So I think can we say that is it possible to get rid of anger? That would be the approach. Not that it's a part of life, it can't go, it has to be there. Then of course the mind will never make an effort to get out of that. Yes, Durga ji, please.
Sir, am I audible also?
Yes, you are.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. It's a very good discussion, yeah. And more than anything else, I think I really like the video. And I think you won't get any better video where Krishnaji so patiently, so laboriously went, step by step, what's about self-knowledge. And he went about desire and will. I know how desire is born. First of all, it is the seeing, the perception, the contact, and then the thought comes and says, "Yo, how nice it will be if I own it." And then the desire is born, and the will gets strengthened. They both go together. So beautifully he has explained there. And then knowing yourself, he says, even ancient Greeks and Hindus. It's like as ancient as old as hills. These sayings, why there must be some truth to it. There must be some profound quality to them. That's why these truths are still valid even now. Unless and until one understands oneself, one knows oneself, he says that is the whole secret. There is nothing like kept in the textbooks or your ancient scriptures or anywhere else. The whole secret, the whole mystery lies in understanding oneself, the totality of human consciousness. He says, if you want to know anything about life, anything about the universe, anything about the truth, whatever it is, that huge Pandora box is not going to get opened, it's not going to open unless and until you know what you are, what yourself is, what human being is. That is knowing your own self. And in no less words, he summarized it in the end. And also he says, what are the steps, what are the mistakes we usually, make in the very concept of knowing oneself. First of all, he says about what self is and what does it mean by know. I don't think you will get anywhere else much better clarity, much better simplicity other than in one of these videos, in this video. And he says, and what else he says, and how we try to know about ourselves, like, someday we are just walking on the road, somebody says something, maybe they say something about us based on their own past memory, immediately we get hurt. We say, oh, why did they say so like that? That means our whole idea of our whole understanding of ourselves is based on that other person's assessment of us. The whole day our mood may remain, upset. Then you understand, is it what I am? Is the other person is saying out of their memory, out of their understanding, they say something, and is it what I am? Or am is there something more to me or something else to me? Isn't it so? So then you start wondering, and other than that also we have a lot of images about ourselves based on perceptions of the people all around us, in the very family, in our friend circle. They label us, they label us, they give, they name our qualities. They say, oh, this person is like that. We have known him for so long, he or she behaves in such a way. And sometimes when we hear that, again, it strikes us. Is it what I am, or is it something else to me? So that labeling, the identification, that is so common to us. It is part of, that has become such a thick form of conditioning. That's how we do to others, and that's how others also do to us. That's why we are never able to understand what self is and what self-knowledge is about. He says it is everything. Self is all the time. It's a dynamic. It's a lot of dynamism is involved in self. Because we go through hundreds of emotions on a day-to-day basis. The anger, maybe the greed, the ambition, the comparison. However hard we try, they remain there. Because he says psychologically we are all same. Entire humanity is same. Human consciousness is same. So unless and until I start observing others also and start taking into account, yes, it is not only me, the other person also undergoes the same sorrow, same misery, and these feelings are not they don't arise only in me. There are others also who goes. That means that may not lessen our burden, but at least that expands our vision. That expands that, we are not very highly individualistic creatures. We are part of this whole entire movement of human consciousness. So he tries to broaden that perspective. It is not about getting a reward or going somewhere or judging a case video. It's not possible. It's possible. It's not that about that. It just listen to it patiently. Something goes into it. My approach has always been like that. Sometimes something strikes you. It's about broadening your understanding, and these discussions should help each other in clearing our perspectives. So, and he says, and again he says about what we hear about us from others and what we actually are. That also creates contradiction. That's all past knowledge, past memory. They are assessing you, and our whole mood, our whole the day goes for a 6 because we get upset about that. So all these ruptures, when they start happening to us, then our minds also start opening. And I think that's what the Krishnaji's effort is always been, opening up our boundaries, expanding them, and we don't know where we reach, where we end up. So never bother about whether it's possible or not possible, whether I will reach there or not. I think we just go into the intricacies of all these things. If we can relate with them, you share with them, and what's your experiences, you can also come out with them. And maybe let's see how in this whole process where we end up. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Durga ji. Yes, Mr. Rajendran, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Dubey ji, Jain Saab. and good morning to everyone.
Yeah.
See, this video we listened to Krishnaji today, thanks to Dubeyji. And how did we listen to this video, his talk? So, are we listening in the wrong way? With the background or foreground of our knowledge, self, or whatever we have gathered so far and accumulated in the deep bottom of our conscious or unconscious? How we are listening? Whether Krishnaji is so knowing oneself, that is knowing oneself, that is psychological knowledge. In the psychological field, is there any effort is possible? Suppose I am sitting here, it's a beautiful day, morning in Bangalore, I am sitting here, I want to go to my balcony. So I can move, take steps, make an effort. I can go to the balcony. But suppose if I want to understand in the inner field of psychological field, is there any effort? Can I make an effort? So we are all along making effort to become something from what is. So my question is, in the psychological field, is there any effort is possible? Effort has so many names. Effort, will, desire, observer, thought, motive, to become something, knowledge. So many names are there. Whether that effort is possible, even to listen to K, can I make an effort? So effort means always thought, always observer. Always observer means he will come along with the his own baggage of knowledge, of our knowing of the scriptures, and we from someone or self, whatever it is. Whether that effort we can make to listen Krishnamurti. What is passion? Attention. So is there any, we can make an effort to be passion or be compassionate or be attention. We can, so no effort is, we are unnecessarily wasting our energy making an effort to understand to understand something or to do something in the psychological field. In the psychological field, we have to be nothing, knowing nothing and doing nothing. That is very difficult for us. And it is scary also to be nothing. So, I am again emphasizing, just to please let us think, investigate ourselves in the psychological field. Is there any effort? Effort means always the observer. So, by listening with the K or observing ourselves, self-knowing, maybe we cannot make an effort. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rajendran. Yes, Mr. Prasad, unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah. So my understanding from the video is like it is being covered in some of the speakers has covered what I'm going to say, but still I think it is good to repeat my understanding. So that's the reason I'm going ahead with my insights about this video. So one of the best thing, even I heard this in some other video as well. One of the insightful thing is knowledge breeds conflict. So whether it is knowledge from the ancient books or any book, any guru or anything, or it might be from K as well. So when we listen to K, when we read K, is it becoming knowledge and we are trying to apply and we are trying to change, or we're trying to observe? So there must be some kind of digestion should happen within myself, where I must left with my own understanding and the what I have read and what I have listened from K, that should go away actually. That should literally go away, and I should stand with understanding of my own. Until that point, there must be conflict. Conflict is bound to happen as long as I take K as some knowledge. And that is how we are conditioned. The whole humanity, including myself, yourself, and most of the humanity is conditioned to knowingly or unknowingly, we take everything as knowledge. So that is one major obstacle with K or with any other teachings. So that is my insight from this talk or the video, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Verma sir, please.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Okay. So today's topic is definitely very interesting, as so many of our friends have given their views about this topic. The topic is on self-knowledge without desire and will. First, I was a little surprised that why he is using self-knowledge instead of self-knowing. Anyway, but he has explained afterwards something. You see, desire and will both are the expression of our limited self. Desire and will both are the expressions of our limited self. To me, self-knowledge is the past embedded in time, whereas self-knowing is moment to moment in timeless eternity, oblivious of psychological time. Knowledge is recollection, recognition, cognizance of something that happened in the past, or the image I have of myself, or my likes and dislikes. All these things come. So knowing is possible when we observe myself without the observer. That also says the same thing. That is the past. Now, how do I take this message in the present moment? Knowledge, knowing, and awareness. Awareness is always in the present moment. Awareness is not knowledge. Are we aware when we are discussing it? Are we aware when we are looking into myself or the content? So self-knowing is in the moment that tells me something through sensation converted into something meaningful in me through the vocabulary stored in me. So this is how any moment is received by me, whether it's a conditioned me or I have enough space to hear something what he talks about as the fresh. Fresh means, of course, freedom from the past only can bring that freshness, but that freshness is also felt whatever I am right now. Whatever, I don't know exactly. I can't tell you exactly what I am right now when I'm talking, but that freshness can be felt accordingly. So this is what, and otherwise message is so very clear. It doesn't require any discussion, even discussion. What is there to discuss? Whether I am conditioned self, looking for self-knowledge, or I am knowing myself moment to moment. What is happening? What am I looking for? Right this moment, it passes beautifully into the past. So am I that alert and attentive? So it comes back to attention. So ultimately, most of these messages are you attentive? Am I attentive? Or I want to impress with my knowledge. So these things are there. It's fairly simple to all of us. Thank you. Thank you very much. And not much to say.
Thank you, Verma. I think a very important point he said in the end, I'm sure we all must have heard him. When he said, when the content of the consciousness is completely empty, it is total attention, total awareness. And that is the state of self-knowledge. Yes, Dinesh ji. Share your understanding.
Sir, what I wanted to say earlier, suppose Russia starts a war with the Ukraine. So whether Ukrainian people will be angry or not, yes, they will be angry. As long as war is there or external stimulus is there, there will be a proportional reaction. So once it is not there, stimulus is not there, that reaction will subside. But in other cases, say for example, in our day-to-day life, with the maturity, reaction will not be there at all, or it will be subside immediately after the reaction. So that's what I wanted to say. Now my question to Dubey sir is, what do you think, sir? Really desire is born out of thought, or it is an energy surge and thought is just expressing it? My question is clear, sir?
I think it's clear, but I really don't know whether it's energy or desire. But to your previous comment, I want to say something. You know, if my response to society is totally dependent on society, then I have no thinking of my own. Then I'm not observing myself. And I want to quote, not that I have experienced it, but I'm just quoting Krishnamurti. Somebody asked him that if I'm traveling and my dear one, my daughter or my wife is being attacked, should I be peaceful? Should I not hit him? And he said, sir, live for 20 years without anger and you'll get the answer. So let's not take what the society does, because if you're part of the society and don't want to stand alone, then be like the society. Why are you talking of living without anger? If you want to live a life which is different than what the life we are leading so far, then you will have to take a stand and stand alone. You are not, I mean, certainly the whole world is affected by you and you are affected by the whole world. But can I just look at myself? The war has never ended in the history of mankind because people have not changed. But can I try and be a change? That is what is important. Individuals have changed, not the society, even though we are part of society and society is what we are. And let's not get into words, because words don't mean a thing. We have to look, much beyond the words and stay with our questions. That is important. Yes, Durga ji, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think hypothetical questions, the statements and all, they may be good for Dinesh ji to just prolong our time or something like that. Hypothetical situations and all, like, the question you have raised and all. So I just have to say, when we are understanding ourselves, if the whole mystery, it's all about understanding oneself. So how do we start? That's the main, the point and the main issue or the main aspect of the whole understanding of any teaching, if it comes to it. So I feel, their self-knowing is knowing about your reactions, about your actions and your day-to-day business, your moods, your fancies, whatever they are. And I feel once that understanding starts happening, and when we start understanding ourselves along with others also, when we start looking at others also, and when we start taking into account of their reactions, their moods, and we start getting, some kind of a resonance with our feelings, and we see that, yes, the other person also goes through the same way. I feel then maybe I feel that's about, it's how my mind grasps. It's maybe that comes into some kind of a self-knowledge or something. Self-knowing is about yourself, about your way, your conditioning, your background, that has something maybe that is kind of a particular thing, the way everyone is brought up in a different way. So if you start understanding ourselves, when we start understanding ourselves, vis-a-vis all these emotions and all we go through on a day-to-day basis, That is knowing about oneself. When we start looking at other people also, and looking at others also, and when resonance starts happening, when we start feeling okay, then we understand, yes, we are not the same. Human consciousness is the same. Every second person also goes through the same things. I'm not the only one. So maybe that kind of knowledge about our own emotions, the background of them, maybe I feel that is expansion of self-knowledge. And coming to anger, I feel at one point he also says any feeling, any emotion, if we know how to stay with that. I don't agree that there will be a state, there won't be any anger, one become like a saint or a tree. I don't think that happens. That is my understanding, sir. So those things, those emotions, they all remain the way they are. The raw, maybe the rawness may be different. Maybe they start showing their own more layers. Because when we start paying attention to those emotions, without naming them, without labeling them, why it happened so far? What has led to this kind of a state? Why I'm in this? I don't think it's called analysis also. Unless and until you remain with that and you explain, you allow that emotion to tell it to you why it has arisen in the very first place. Maybe because the past things have got embedded in you. That's why so that means it's all giving time to it. It is remaining with it. Then maybe the intensity starts getting reduced. But in the future also we may go through the same emotions, same things may happen, but that rate at which it start coming and hit us, that may start getting reduced. And I feel I just have to say that myself. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I agree with you, Durga, because if I'm aware about my disorder, at that moment doesn't create any problem. Not that you are completely free of anger, but it doesn't create difficulties. But the moment I become unaware, then all kinds of things happen. So freedom from this disorder is just being aware of those disorders. That is how the freedom begins. Yeah, Durga, you want to say something? Then we'll go to Pradeep. Yes, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. And there is a very fundamental chapter on flowering, and he says that is what the flowering is all about. When you remain with anything, it starts opening up and that intensity starts falling away. That is flowering. Initially, I couldn't understand what does it mean by flowering. Flowering means when you remain with it. And when you understand it, when you allow that to unfold its layers, that's what my understanding of flowering is. That means you have paid attention to them. You are aware of them. And a lot of our lives, a lot of people all around us, they don't even bother about all these things. They simply live with all sensations, emotions, going from one extreme emotion to the other. How many people we see all around us? They live life like that. But listening to Krishnaji's teachings and videos, this is sensitizing us. It is bringing a lot of sensitivity to us. So maybe we are a few bit better from other people because we are aware of what we are going through and why we are going through and all that stuff. That's all I have to say, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Pradeep ji.
Yes. Audible, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. You just said, I think I'm not very clear about, you just said that freedom from the entire content of consciousness, if someone is free, that is self-knowledge, you said just now?
In the end, he says that if the whole content of the consciousness is emptied, that is the state of self-knowledge. Then there is no baggage. Then there is no baggage. You are able to see things as they are.
So you mean to say emptiness, feeling of emptiness, or rather emptiness is self-knowledge?
I will put it in a different way. I don't know that a state where the consciousness can be completely empty, but a state where the content is totally dormant. It's not bothering my watching. It's not creating any hurdle in seeing things as they are.
So then you become a better recipient. You see, your receiver. Everything is something like that old story of that tea whether teacup is empty or full, and his guru is pouring tea in that. So emptiness, because knowledge always, it tells you something about something. You see, knowledge is always something, some meaning, some word and meaning. But emptiness is a good receiver. He receives just like a mirror. Things will be in that mirror visible. Choiceless awareness, I think he talked about, that may be closer to that. So I was a little confused about this, whether emptiness is self-knowledge. So thank you very much for whatever you have.
I think you can call it emptiness or it is silence, because then there is no naming. It's only seeing. This is what I perhaps thought. Yes, Mr. Shiva Kumar.
No registering, something like that.
Yes.
No registering.
No registration at all. I don't know whether the conscious mind can really do that, but even if it registers, it doesn't create any ripples.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Shiva Kumar.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are. Yes.
Yeah. I was just trying to explore the question Mr. Dinesh Waghmare raised, thought and anger, the difference there. So he was trying to say anger is an energy. I was just wondering, thought is also an energy. Anger is also an energy. But I doubt whether thought and anger are same, though they are the energy. In the sense, suppose taking an example, chair. When I say the chair, that is a thought. So that doesn't have any problem as such. The moment I say it's my chair and it's your chair and I fight and get angry. So is there a possibility of strong identification with the thought? That creates an emotion, that creates an extraordinary feeling, that energy outburst. So in that sense, thought and anger are not same, but there can't be an anger without thought. He also says like a thought and feeling go together. But thought and feeling more or less it is linked as such. But then it is the self, the identification with that thought coming in. That probably is what you can say the outburst of energy that you call it as an anger. Because thought, even in a scientific world, is a physiochemical reaction. So it's still an energy. In fact, many times why we waste thinking all the time, that drains our energy, right? So in that sense, thought is still an energy. But when you say anger, it is like a strong emotion attached to it. That's what I thought want to share there. At the same time, earlier, there was a talk on effort also, somewhere lot of time, when we say effort is will, effort is there, there's no doubt about it. So as a result, let's live like that without putting an effort. And that's how the cunningness of the brain, it's puts the conclusion, oh, the moment I try to be aware, I am trying to be this, I'm putting an effort, so let me not put an effort. And then go on with my conditioning. So this is a natural thing which is all the time happening. So sometimes, many times we get confused, then why should not use will, I should not use desire. But then there's a difference between arduous and effort. There's a very subtle difference. Understanding K, living K is very arduous. I don't know, my pronunciation might not be there. A-R-D-O-U-S. Probably you can check that. Yeah, right. So, yeah. So, somewhere maybe like a minute, I'm trying to be aware, Okay, even though I know, like, even trying to be aware of inattention is also an attention. I do understand that also. And then, like, for a minute I'm aware. Then my conditioning is so strong, it takes away into the world. And somewhere after 2 days, somewhere I read some other statement of K, and then come my, okay, let me try to be aware. Okay, this is a natural tendency which goes on for 20, 30 years. And finally we keep on, like, with those conclusions of K's and words, that somehow like a K has become a problem. Because we are strongly identified with K. That itself has become a problem. Okay? It is not K as a problem, but it's our identification. Right? So, somewhere, like, this, rather than being once in a while, once in 2 days, once in 3 days, trying to understand myself or something, somewhere, like, can I be aware throughout the day? Maybe morning, afternoon, evening. Not that, like, I will be aware. I will be aware is an effort. Can I bring that awareness in a day? Okay. Can I be at least, like, somewhere, like, that awareness comes in, like, yeah, today, like, I was not attentive for whole day. Just that, like, I'm not aware. That itself is an awareness. Not that, like, okay, tomorrow I will make it a mind, like, from morning to evening, I'll be aware. That comes an effort. I don't know whether I differentiated between the hardness and effort. So K teachings is not that simple. Though it is to put it, the bottom line is very, very simple. That is the other way. Just be with what is. The entire bottom line of K teaching is be with what is. Any moment away from what is, you are into this world. Simple. Right? That's a simple thing. Like, awareness, the awareness, attention, all that points out to only one thing, that is be with what is. That's entire philosophy discussion comes to that. It appears so simple. The entire philosophy is so simple. But then it itself is a big problem for us. 20 years we are not able to do it because I'm trying to understand each and every word and try to make a conclusion out of it and then start living with that conclusion. Yeah, now today I understood. With this talk, I understood today this much. Now I'll go and live according to this talk. So then I continue with that conclusion and start living. So in a way, even to understand, okay, let me understand K, let me understand K. The word understanding in our common world is totally bringing into a knowledge. Like, I will understood. That is my knowledge. I understood K means, like, I know this. That's a knowledge. But in K's words, understanding, is there understanding of anything at all? Or is it just living that moment to moment where, like, you are not capturing anything? The moment it comes into experience, it is an understanding. In our general terms, right? What do you mean by understand? I understood this means this is already I have an experience. I know something out of it. So I always try to understand K. Oh, today I understood little. Somewhere, like, there are a lot of people, like 30 years they are understood. Probably I require another 20 years to understand also. Right? So all this, and some people say, no, K is very difficult to understand. Okay, that's the first beginning point itself. Make it more difficult, and then, like, why it is difficult? Why it is difficult? Then my, like, the continuity of thinking. Okay, it gains energy. All these questions, knowledge, words, it is only to sustain myself in thinking. One moment of thinking is sufficient for it to sustain further. So we move into that lane. Right? So very simple, like, trying to differentiate the words, trying to live with the conclusion. All that, somewhere can I be away from these words and just be aware. So how to be aware, like, then I want an understanding. So that's again an issue, right? So I don't know, I'm sorry, I took a little more time, but then, like, some of these things I thought, like, I'll share. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, Prasad Garu, the last word.
Sir, I did not fully follow the video. That is why I was hesitant to intervene. But one thing, I am now intervening only just to record my appreciation of the interventions of Dubeyji, particularly his comment that emptiness of the consciousness is self-knowledge. As Pradeep ji has said, there is an apparent contradiction because knowledge is something positive content, whereas emptiness is empty, just empty.
there is an apparent contradiction, but I think the merit of the teaching lies in that contradiction. That is, the consciousness has to be empty, the empty of its contents. We are full of our contents. When they become empty, that is self-knowledge, because self is a non-entity. There is nothing in self. And Krishnaji has also said this self is not simply yourself, but the self of humanity. So I think it may be a little difficult to understand, but there lies the crux of the matter, emptiness and self-knowledge in Krishnaji's terms. This desire and all that he has explained so many times, that the will is only a summation of desires. Desire is only when thought enters and takes control of sensation. That is quite simple, see, because he has explained so many times. The crux is, I think, what Dubeyji has said, emptiness of the contents of consciousness. That is self-knowledge. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. We have come to the close of the session now. Next Sunday, we'll have Mr. Vijay Chabra. He is a spoken one. He's a trustee of the foundation, and he looks after the Himalayan retreat centers in Jalna and Uttakashi. So he'll be with us at 11 o'clock next Sunday. We have not received the theme of his talk. Sushilji will convey it to me, then I'll circulate it. So let's meet next Sunday. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.